What's up? Thanks for tuning into this video. I am going to teach you how to pass the ICC General Contractor License Exam the first time. Let's get started.
You can see the world the way it really is. Always.
All right, before we get started, please do me a favor. Go over to that subscribe button right now and click subscribe. Hit that bell for notifications if you haven't already. That way you can get future videos. The videos come out every Monday and Friday afternoons in the worlds of home building, real estate, general contracting, DIY, carpentry projects, the whole 9 yards. And new merch is in, so make sure you go to builtbybaileys.com. Check out all the merch that we have, t-shirts, hoodies, tank tops, hats, all kinds of fun stuff. Find something for yourself there. We'd really appreciate that as well. So without further ado, let's get started with what we're talking about today, which is how do you pass this general contractor licensing exam the first time? Shane, people talk to me all the time. I hear that only 10% of the people pass this test the first time, and it is brutal. That is somewhat true. Not many people pass the first time, and I think the main reason is just because people aren't prepared for what the test is actually about. All right, so first things first, make sure you have the correct year for the test that you're taking. Right now, the test is on the 2015 IRC book. Make sure you have the correct book before you go to the test, because you don't want to open up the wrong book or be screwed the day before the test, as I know some people have done and realized they have the wrong code book for the test they're taking. So make sure you go to iccsafe.org and check on which book they're going to test you on before you start preparing for this test. That being said, this is the 2018 version that is right here. You also want to have the most up-to-date code book for when you're out in the field, because you need to know the most up-to-date codes that are out there. Things change all the time. These books come out every 3 years. I have not grabbed my 2021 book yet. I'm a little bit behind the 8 ball on that one because I've got some projects coming up. But most building departments out here in Colorado are still in the 2015 book. So I'm still ahead of most people as far as that goes. But always keep updated as far as the book goes. All right, so I got the 2018 sitting in front of me. We're going to run off that today. Now, you need to understand what this test is about. This test is about not just how to build homes, but how you interpret this code book. They don't expect you to know every single page in this book. It's big, right? The test is open book. But that doesn't mean you can just show up with this bad boy in front of you and just thumb through it based on what question they're asking you and assume you're going to be able to find it. Yes, it is a 4-hour test and there are 80 multiple choice questions. However, in that 4 hours, in that 80 question test, this is where people end up not passing. They don't finish the test because they're not prepared the correct way. So I'm going to show you what to do. They're testing you on how to read this book and how to find information in this book. They're not testing you specifically on memorizing this book, okay? That being said, you don't go into that test, like I said, thinking that you can just find the information. You need to be proficient in being able to search for information in this book, but you also got to know you're in the field stuff, for lack of a better word. You've got to know what you're doing in order to build homes. Obviously, that's why we're getting licensed. But you got to know a lot of this book without having to be able to find stuff, okay? So there's certain sections of the book you should already have in your head as far as codes go. Most of that being administrative type information. That's section 300 of this book, okay? So make sure you understand most of those codes before going in to take your test. If you are taking this test, you're preparing to become a licensed general contractor, you should know most of those codes by now anyway. So keep that in mind. All right, next thing you need to understand is the breakdown of what this test has, okay? So I'm going to read you the breakdown percentage-wise of what each section of the test involves so you understand what you're looking at, all right? So we're going to talk about the Class C ICC exam in particular, okay? And on the building contractor C exam, the first area, like I said, is administration, which is mostly section 300, okay? Most of that needs to be in your head already. That's 9% of the exam, okay? Second section, building planning, all right? That's 11% of your exam. Again, most of that information you should have up in your head. You should be able to recite that thing on site because it's going to be proficient for you when you're building, but also proficient for you on this test, okay? 13% of the test is on plan reading. If you can't read plans, you shouldn't be taking this test. Enough said there, right? 5% of the test is actually on life safety. You got to understand some of the OSHA requirements. You should understand most of them, to be honest with you. All right, but life safety, evaluating risk hazard, and preparing for that when building a home is important, okay? 3% is on exterior walls. That's kind of crazy to think about. Understanding wall assemblies, only 3% of the test is actually looking at that, but a lot of that can be found in the book, all right? You don't need to know everything, but you should understand how an exterior wall is assembled in your area. All right, 8% is on roof assemblies and roof structures. Again, a lot of that you guys should already know. The key here is understanding where to find the tables, okay? We'll address all of that in a second. 11% is going to be on soils and foundations. 3% is actually on concrete. 8% on masonry. The chunk of the test is literally on wood. Residential construction is most of the time built with dimensional lumber. 24% of the test has to do with wood, basically your structure on building the home outside of the foundation, okay? This is the stuff you need to be able to find quickly in the book. Glass and glazing, 3%. Gypsum board and plaster, 3%. And energy efficiency, 3%. Most of that you should probably have up in your head by now anyway, because most municipalities are really cracking down on the IECC requirements. Make sure you understand what that is. All right, that's your total of 100%. That's the breakdown of the test. Okay, next step, and you can see all these pink tabs here on my book, okay, is organizing the book in an efficient manner so you're able to thumb through it and find these tables and these codes as efficiently as possible. Based on the breakdown that you now understand on the test, you want to make sure that you can efficiently move through this book knowing where things are when they ask you a question. For example, where does section 300 on the administrative stuff start, okay? I have most of the tables, especially for the 24% of the test that has to do with wood. I have to have all of my span tables. I can't have them all memorized. You should have a big understanding of that, but tab those tables so you're able to find them quickly. It is okay to have stuff written on these tabs. It is okay to highlight in the book, and it is okay to have notes in ink in the book before you go into the test. They will thumb through this book when you check in. So have all of this stuff done ahead of time, and that is the key. The biggest part of this test is literally finding the information that they're asking you and being able to quickly process it to get your answer. And again, like I said, 24% of that test is on wood structure, okay? It's going to be worked off of a couple different problems in the test, and there'll be multiple questions based on that. So understanding where to find that stuff quickly and efficiently is important. So the biggest part of this test is literally organizing this book. This is the key right here. Run your tabs. Being able to find this stuff quickly without going through section by section is so important to passing the first time, okay? Now, day of the test, what do you need to bring in? Make sure that you have an architectural ruler. You need to have your scales because you're going to have multiple problems that are going to require you to use that. Finding scale and reading plans is 11% of the test, right? So you want to make sure that you have that. The other thing you need to have is a calculator. There is math on this test, and you've got to figure it out, and a lot of that's probably not going to be able to be done in your head, okay? Most importantly, I know everyone's used to having their iPhones and their smartphones with them. You can't bring that into the test for obvious reasons. There are no lifelines. Once you're in that testing center, you can't phone a friend. So have an actual calculator. Yes, this one's really old. It still works. There's no reason to get a new one. Bringing a calculator with an extra set of batteries, that's always important too, all right? Now, also bring multiple pencils, okay? I got pencils sitting here. I got them all over the place. Whatever you want. Bring multiple pencils in, and you can bring in scrap paper. So you can bring in a pad of paper. They do provide them at some testing centers, but I would recommend just get a yellow tab and bring it in. Again, they're going to look through that tablet. So make sure you have nothing written on there before you go in. The last thing you need to bring in is a driver's license or government issued photo ID, okay? So passport, whatever it is, you gotta have that before you can sit down and take the test. They will check you in. They will literally go through all of your stuff. Anything else that you bring, you're gonna put into a locker, lock it up, okay? So those are the most important things about this test in order to pass the first time. Keep in mind too, it's a 4-hour test. If you need to, use the entire 4 hours to get done. 80 questions, 4 hours, doesn't seem like you're gonna need all that time. Most of the time you will. You're literally going through a book and you're having to know all of this information between your brain and the book, okay? And there's gonna be some complicated questions on that test. That being said, take as many practice tests as you can. You can go to iccsafe.org and find practice exam questions. There's other websites I'll leave in the description below for links to find those practice tests. Some of them are great. Some of these practice tests really suck because it has nothing to do with the actual test itself. So obviously I'm going to leave you only the ones that will work for your test, okay? Be prepared. Get sleep. Make sure you have a good breakfast. Schedule the test during the part of the day where your brain works most efficiently. You guys should know how that works for you. And then go in there with the confidence that you are ready to become a general contractor. All right, the last thing to really need to understand for this test is that there's no penalty for guessing, okay? So just like every other test you've ever taken in your life, if you don't know the answer, on the computer, you can mark it for later. Make sure, this is what I tell you guys on all these different tests, including the real estate exam too, make sure you answer the question before you tag it to come back to review later. Because sometimes you don't have the chance to come back if you run out of time. And if you leave it blank, but it's tagged for later, you get no credit, obviously, at all because it's not tagged, it's not marked as an answer. So you could get lucky. Make sure you just take the best possible guess and mark that down. Then you can tag the question and come back to review later, but don't leave it blank, even on your first run through. Then at the end of the test, you can look at that time, see how much time you got left, go ahead and review all the questions. Don't change your answer if you already feel like you've answered the question correctly. Don't try and talk yourself out. Only go to the ones that you've marked as, I don't know what the heck this is, okay? Then you can change your answer on those if needed. If you don't know another answer, just leave it as is. It's better to be lucky than good sometimes, okay? So make sure you answer every single question, even if you don't know the answer, put something down. You never know, you could luck out, okay? Those are the keys to passing this test the first time. Take a deep breath. You're going to be fine. Worst case scenario, you don't pass the first time like almost 90% of people do. I'm not trying to scare you, but you taking these steps that I've just given you will be able to do it the first time, and you're on your way to becoming a licensed general contractor, building homes without having to worry about somebody else's license in order to do it. You can branch off, start your own company. If you got any questions, leave them in the comments below. I really appreciate it. On the way out, please hit that like button if you haven't already. I really appreciate if you guys subscribe to the channel, trying to push out content. Again, Mondays and Fridays in the afternoons are when these videos come out. And until next time, guys, I appreciate it. Later.